Imagine it's 2 a.m. While most of
Mm-hmm.
the world is dreaming, a small team is gathered around a glowing wall of monitors in a room where the air is kept precisely at 18 degrees Celsius. There's no shouting, there's no dramatic music, just the steady clicks of mechanical keyboards and the scent of oversteeped, let's say green tea. Then suddenly a green line of code, a whisper in a sea of billion data turns amber. It's not an error, it's an intrusion. This is the war room, the Security Operations Center, or we call it SOC. And this is where the invisible battles of our era are won or lost. I'm Adeola, and today on Security Unpacked, we're pulling back the curtains on the high stakes world of detection and response. And joining me today is a guest who has lived in these trenches. Henry Nwachukwu is a veteran of threat management and a seasoned incident commander. Henry, welcome. Now, before we dive into the kiosk of a war room, I have to ask you, you've spent years in high pressure environments when the red alert hits at 3 a.m. What is one thing that keeps you grounded? Now, let's say, is it a specific playlist? Is it a dark roast of coffee or even tea or just adrenaline? Welcome, Henry, once again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And to go straight to your question, I'm a coffee person, really,
Oh, okay.
because it helps you. Yeah, basically, it helps you keep a clear head, right? And it
Yeah.
helps you to kind of be focused. Yeah, coffee
Mm.
all the day, all the way for me. Yeah, coffee all day for
Wow.
me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. I love that. Now, most people now let's talk about you've told me about the coffee, you've told me everything. What does it feel like to be a sock person? Is it like you feel like a library of things or how? I just want to have an idea of what it feels like before I go into the details of what we have for today.
Okay. How it feels to be like how you feel as a SOC person. It's a different perspective, different feelings,
Okay.
different emotions, paranoia. I think that's the word because
Okay.
you're doing something very sensitive that slight errors or mistakes or you overlook stuff, things could go
Yeah.
haywire. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's a roller coaster of emotions, roller coaster of mindsets, roller coaster of
Hmm.
mental posture, basically.
Wow.
So you need to be on top of it every minute all the way.
So we'll say it's like a mind, it's like a lot of different emotions. I love that. Now, most people
Absolutely.
expect the kind of like the matrix, but you're saying it's more like a high stake chess match in a study hall. Now, I want you to tell me if your life as a threat hunter was a movie genre, would it be a psychological thriller or even a fast paced action flick?
Action films mostly are like I think 90 minutes to 120 minutes. I know
Yeah.
it's intense and it goes away. But
Yeah.
thrillers and the cybersecurity environment is more like a
Mm,
psychological thriller because the threat
mm,
actors are not they probably been in your network for the past 200 days before you even realize they are in there. So the
mm,
movie had already started probably a year or 6 months earlier before
mm.
you realize you are in the scene of an actual event happening, right? So it's a psychological thriller, because it takes you through different stages, through different fear, really, because you're really faced
Yeah.
with serious fear because you don't know what you're
Wow.
dealing with. If it's
Mm,
something that could bring down a multi-billion-dollar organization, if it's something that
yeah.
could derail trains, if it's something that could
Mm,
cause an air traffic accident, you get what I mean?
wow.
So
Yeah.
it's a psychological thriller in that sense because it's a roller coaster of emotions, roller coaster of ideas, what to do. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an action movie because action movies are filled with filled with explosions and those things that makes adrenaline run higher. But psychological thrillers kind of gets you to
Uh,
think deeper. You get what I mean?
yeah.
And
Yes.
it takes more time. It takes more
Um,
deep diving into the background of
yeah.
things to understand them. So I would describe it as a
Yes.
psychological thriller. For me,
Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
so much. That's so perfect. Now let's get into that 90%. Now, Henry, let's
Mhm,
demystify the sock. To an outsider, it looks like a
mhm,
NASA cockpit. And to an
mhm.
insider, what does a day in the life actually feels like?
Okay, so a day in the life of a SOC engineer or analyst, it's I wouldn't say two different days. 2 days are not exactly the same.
The
Every day
same.
is a new day with different threats, different
Hmm.
events, and in as much as the approach, in responding to them are the same, but
Yeah.
the TTPs of the threat actors. So TTPs are, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Basically,
Yeah.
the way they do things, right, change.
Hmm.
And they will have, variety of threat actors all over the world
Wow.
targeting your organization, for instance.
Hmm.
A day in your life as a SOC analyst is not, every day is not the same. Every day comes with new events, new things, or the same things in different flavor. I
Hmm.
mean, so
Yeah.
it's not, your day looking at events. Some might require you to look deep dive into
Hmm.
zeros and ones of event analysis. It could be Windows events, it could be Linux environments,
Yeah.
and all that. It could be network events, it could be packet analysis. So basically, every day is a different day.
Hmm.
It might be similar categories of threats or events,
Hmm.
but they come in different flavor. They come in different shapes and forms because the threat
Hmm.
actors, the environment, what we call the threat landscape, is varied. Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that explains this very well. If you need more deep dive, I can still go further.
Yes, but what you're trying to say now is the reality is like you're managing fatigue, like a fatigue management kind of scenario. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, fatigue, yes, is the correct word for it, but I would rather say, yeah, maybe I can't think of a better word. Fatigue actually works for it because
Okay.
it's a crazy, fast-paced environment.
Okay.
It might look like a routine, but
Okay.
there are differences to the routine that you still need to do differently. You get what I mean?
Okay.
So
Okay.
it might look overwhelming because of the volume of things coming in, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but then effective management involves tuning down things to silence the noise from the actual events, when they
Okay.
happen.
I have a
Yeah.
scenario in my head I'm trying to paint. So I'm going to share the scenario. I want to tell me if my scenario is right for what you do. Now, imagine
Mm-hmm.
you're a sentry gathering a fortress. Let's just imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And your tools are throwing 50,000 alerts at you every single day. Now,
Mm-hmm.
49,995 or those are noise. Now, a
Uh-huh.
legitimate user forgetting their password or even a routine software update. Now, but if you blink, if you get bored and dismiss alert number 49,996 without looking, then that's when the breach happens. Am I right?
100%. Like I couldn't
Wow.
100%. You described my yesterday like Friday working, honestly. So
Wow.
this is for instance, I'll give you an example. There are environments
Okay.
where you have organizations that have employees all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And maybe some of these employees, because of the kind of roles, the kind of jobs they do, they
Yeah.
sometimes travel, right? So imagine you're
Hmm.
seeing employee A, Adeola is logging in from Nigeria today, and tomorrow,
Yeah.
and in the next 2 hours, they logged in from Mexico. You couldn't have traveled from
Yeah.
Nigeria to Mexico in 2 hours, right? So
Hmm.
how? And you just checked and realized maybe this person used the maybe you tried this incident and
Yeah.
actually is genuine incident, is genuine event rather. The
Yeah.
person used a VPN, whatever they're doing. Then tomorrow you see
Wow.
that event again. You might think,
Hmm.
yeah, it could be the same thing with what happened. However, this time around, it could be a different and a real incident
Wow.
going on. So that
Yeah.
little blink of, discarding it and saying, yeah, it's part of the noise might be the problem,
Wow.
that we're the only loophole that'll bring in
Wow.
the attackers and, things go haywire.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah,
So that means it's like finding a needle in a haystack of needles. Now, if that is
absolutely.
the case, how do you stop your brain from turning into mush after the 4,000th alarm, false alarm? So how do you do that?
Hmm. It's a very interesting question, really. So basically, in as much as you're doing most of the things with your brain, we also have tools that has improved, have
Okay.
understood your environment a lot better. And this tool has been
Okay.
tuned, you understand, to help you, reduce the number of noise. You get what I mean? So
Okay.
that
Okay.
percentage of so when if you're getting 10,000 alerts in a day and the
Yeah.
tools effectively cuts down 9,800 of them in a
Yeah.
day, right? 200 is a lot for you to look at in a day. However,
Yeah.
it's the small volume compared with 10,000. So
Yeah.
the tools help you to, reduce the workload, right?
Okay.
But it's still like finding a needle in a haystack
Okay.
because you still have to
Okay.
pay attention to so many things. And the tuning, sometime maybe I'm sure we'll get to that. We'll get
Yeah.
to what tuning and how it is done, right? But it
Yeah.
helps you to reduce the noise, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you.
And
So that
it makes
means
it a lot more
okay.
streamlined, looking for what
Yeah.
what you need to see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that means that you most likely rely on what is called the playbook. Am I right? Is there anything called
Yes.
the playbook?
Yes, so the playbook are part of what you build into your tools, into your environment. When I say
Okay.
tools,
Okay.
tools could be scripts, so these are
Okay.
playbooks. So basically, a
Okay.
playbook. Do you want me to describe what, in a layman's term, how it works or what it is?
You can just maybe just few minutes if you won't take
Yeah,
so
so
much time.
basically, a playbook is the right word, is the right phrase to describe it because it
Okay.
helps you tune down. A playbook sees what event it is, looks for
Okay.
certain key areas you've set. If this is
Okay.
equal to this, or this looks like this, do this. So
Okay.
this tools, this scripts, these playbooks helps you to, you get what I mean? You know the steps
Yeah.
to take to sieve the noise from the chaff from the real content
Yeah.
you're looking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that awesome answer. Now let's talk about being a spy master. Sorry, I'm using all these words like James
Yeah.
Bond spy master. It's because of a topic we're dealing with, the war room and all. So now let's talk about being a
Mhm.
spy master. Now that's a threat
Mhm.
intelligence. Sounds very James Bondy like. But how do we
Absolutely.
actually know who is coming for us before they even knock? Do you understand my question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very, I think threat intelligence and threat management is the biggest backbone of
Yeah.
cybersecurity. Of
Okay.
course, it's the biggest backbone of every security sector you can
Yeah.
think of, right? And in
Yeah.
cybersecurity specifically, threat intelligence is a big deal. So we
Mm.
have at the high level, at the strategic level, be able to classify the threat actors. You must have heard of
Yeah.
the Star Spider, the Red
Yeah.
Bear, the big names
Yeah.
like that. These are real organizations. I'm calling organizations not like registered companies, but they are criminal organizations, right? Or state actors, that
Mm.
are well equipped, to do real things, to do real damage to organizations, to nation
Okay.
states, right? So understanding how they work is a big deal, and it's called threat
Mm.
intelligence.
Okay.
So, understanding what we call their TT is
Yeah.
what we use to build the tools that whenever an event comes in, for instance, if an event comes in, let's say you receive an alert on your monitoring tool, you're seeing
Okay.
certain IP addresses, you're seeing certain file hashes, let's say it's a particular script hash, you're seeing
Okay.
certain signatures that attribute to scatter spider, for
Okay.
instance. Something big is going down, right? So
Okay.
you pay a lot more attention to this kind of
Okay.
events. Those events are higher risk events than this user, logged in from a different location.
Yes, I
Those are
get.
like the end product
Yeah.
of exploitation, right? So,
Yeah.
threat intelligence, understanding the threat actors,
Okay.
building a body of knowledge,
Yeah.
you got out of how they do, how they operate, is a big deal because you're studying just
Mm.
like going out there to study a criminal gang, how they operate.
Yeah.
You need to get down, dating with them. You probably need to live in the same street with them. Yeah, you need to smoke when you smoke, you need to drink when you drink, you need to listen to their lingo, you need to understand their lingo, how it works. So this is how threat modeling is done. And it's
Yeah.
done at a very high strategic level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want me to go more deeper on that,
No, no,
I don't
not
know.
yet,
Yeah, it's
not yet.
very
Now,
interesting. So really,
no,
I have
before
to
you
say it's very
explain the
interesting.
TTPs, don't worry. Before you explain
Yeah.
the TTPs, here's a quick one
Mhm,
for you. Now, if you could
mhm.
unmask one famous historical hacker, or let's say a spy, to see how they would handle a 2026 firewall, who would it be? I'm drifting a little bit
Hmm.
away.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I'm more old school kind of person,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So when I say old school, it's because I believe the fundamentals are always the same. So
Yeah.
I will go for Alan Turing. I don't know if you know about
Ooh.
Alan Turing.
Yeah,
He's a very
sure.
famous mathematician and researcher, right?
Yeah.
So during I think it's the Second World War or so, or First World, I can't remember now. He helped design a kind of a cryptographic deciphering methodology. So basically,
Mm.
during that war, the Germans had a cryptic way of communication. So he
Yeah.
helped design a way of breaking it. So let me give you a little bit of background on why he is very
Okay.
special. In the world of hacking, in the world of hacking as a whole, the most successful hackers are not the people who bombard a target with brute force, with tools, scanning, and all of that.
Yeah.
The most successful hackers are people who study an environment, master that environment, know the ins and outs of that
Out
environment,
of it.
and then discover the loopholes in that environment to exploit it. So that's why I think
Wow.
Alan Turing is one of the best, because he understands the nitty-gritty of how the system works. He took time to
Wow.
study it and then designed countermeasures to break it. So Alan Turing is the man for me.
Wow, that's so good. Wow, logic
Yeah.
versus human laziness. So back to those
Yeah.
TTPs anyways. How do they help us lock the kitchen drawer before the thief arrives?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so excellent question right there. The TTPs helps you know who is knocking on the door, right? So when you know who is knocking on the door, you already know what they are coming for, right? Because the
Yeah.
TTP help us understand what these people come for, the kind of
Yeah.
events, the kind of things they do when they come in, right?
Yeah.
So this TTP helps us to know, since we already know what they are coming for, the kind of events they look for when they
Yeah.
come in, we know where to lock down. We know where to
Mm.
look at, or if it's them. Are you getting me? We
Yeah.
know the kind of configurations to put in our firewall. We know the kind of
Mm.
tools to use. We know the kind
Wow.
of updates to apply. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Because these
Yeah.
people, the TTPs helps you model a threat. So threat modeling means working through what these threat actors will do when they come in. So you're able to
Wow.
say, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3 of what they're going to do. So because of
Yeah.
that, I'm going to be able to put a check in step 1, what we call controls, put
Okay.
control in step 2, put controls in step 3, right?
Okay.
That still doesn't, because you're not able to protect 100%, obviously,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
However, you're able to slow them down, to bug them down, and to be able to see, to get alerted when they try to break in. So that's what
Wow.
TTPs help you do. So that's how you lock
Okay.
down, the kitchen drawer when you're sure this is the person coming in and this is what they are coming for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now let's get into the war room scenario. A breach
Mhm.
is confirmed, the red
Yeah.
alert is active. Now I want you to
Mhm.
walk us through the golden hour, those first 60 minutes.
Crazy. It's crazy. Like when I say crazy, real life crazy. I
Wow.
was involved in an event in 2020 in an organization here in the UK, where we
Wow.
were, of course, we were kind of called back to work for like 3 weeks in a
Wow.
row, not leaving the company premises.
Wow.
Pizzas, food were ordered every day. You sleep there, you work there. You
Wow.
get what I mean? So
Yeah.
this is how it is, real life. So let me give you a
Hmm.
scenario. It's like fire is burning, your home is burning down. You get what I mean?
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. So now in that
Hmm.
moment, when the fire is burning, it's not when you think of where do I get a fire extinguisher, right? That would be
Yeah.
stupid, isn't it? So we have what
Exactly.
we call incident response plan. So during that hour of that crazy moment, the stuff is going down. It's
Hmm.
so let me break it down this way. Every organization has a level of maturity, or a cybersecurity maturity you're expected to have.
Yeah.
And one of the core requirements is what we call incident response plan. So incident
Yeah.
response plan is when things go down, when
Hmm.
what you just described happens,
Yeah.
what do we do? So
Hmm.
it's not when it's happening that you start thinking of what we should do. So prior to it happening, you've already planned some of the key decisions that will be made when incidents happen. For instance, one of the top
Hmm.
decisions will be channel of communication.
Hmm.
When a company has been compromised, let's say a big bank has been compromised, the hackers
Hmm.
are in your emails, they are in your Teams and all that. That's not when you're going to
Hmm.
send an email to an account executive somewhere. Please don't pay so amount to
Yeah.
so person because we have issue, because the hackers are seeing it. So the
Hmm.
what we call outbound communication channel, you must have decided that in your incident response plan, and this is one of the most important things that you utilize when the incidents happen. Secondly, we have what we
Yeah.
call business continuity. What elements, what aspect of our business can we not afford to go down? Can we not afford to switch off? You have to decide that prior to the incident happening. So when an incident
Wow.
happens, how can we keep running without imagine, for instance, let's give an example.
Okay.
Um, telecommunication. Let's say everybody in the world uses internet. Let's say there's a major
Yeah.
incident that shuts down internet for a whole country.
Hmm.
That would be catastrophic. People are going to die in hospitals. People are going to,
Hmm.
there are a lot of things that are going to go bad, right? So,
Hmm.
what the response plan helps you to do is if something goes bad, how can we
Yeah.
keep running, no matter how minimal? So these
Yeah.
decisions, as I said, you're not making them in the midst of an incident. You've made them in your incident
Wow.
response plan, right? And a
Hmm.
lot more other things like what's do we have a kill switch? What should we
Yeah.
switch off to
Hmm.
slow them down? You get what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
all that. So it's a huge aspect of business continuity. It's a huge aspect of cybersecurity risk management
Hmm.
because the event, the war room itself, when things is happening, it's not when you start planning on how to respond to it. You should have a plan in place.
Exactly.
You're only
Yeah.
implementing this plan, which you have rehearsed. I'm sure we're going to
Hmm.
talk about that most likely, which you have
Yeah.
rehearsed in tabletop exercises, in red teaming exercises. You've rehearsed
Yeah.
this plan. Then you bring them to bear. You bring them to bear in when the incident, during the war, when the incident is actually happening. That's where you bring them to bear.
Yeah.
And again, take notes. Even though you rehearse these things, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's still crazy. As trained, with shooting, gun, and all that, it's not the same thing
Yeah.
as when you're in the war front, in the front line.
Forefront. Yeah.
You get what I mean? The fear is higher, the tension is higher, real things is happening. People are getting killed, real life. So that's exactly how it is, when you're in a war in an incident environment.
Thank you so much. You really spoke like a real defender. Now, I heard a
Yeah.
story earlier about an attack that came through a building's infrastructure. Now, this feels
Mhm,
like the ultimate non-tech person's nightmare. Do you know about the
mhm.
story about through the AC building and all?
Yeah.
How did that
So
happen?
basically, excellent question, amazing question. And you know what's funny? The most successful attacks you've heard, most of them happen through Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is basically your other non-IT elements of your connectivity. So for instance, I
Wow.
mean, these days now,
Hmm.
HVAC systems are like
Yeah.
your heating control systems. They are centralized in a way that you have human computer interface where maybe
Yeah.
somebody sits and controls the room temperature in other places. You're able
Yeah.
to remotely control these things. The more
Wow.
these things we're making them easy, they are getting interconnected, the
Hmm.
more our attack surface. So basically,
Hmm.
instead of somebody targeting your router, targeting your network devices, we're targeting these other
Hmm.
items, the other items on the network that do not have the same level of security. These
Wow.
HVAC systems do not have the same level of, let's say, port security. The kind of network connectivity they use is not as
Hmm.
advanced as IP, network, for instance, internet protocol network, that is your normal IPVs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So these are huge attack surfaces. So see how it happens. Somebody manages to discover that your HVAC system has an IP address to it, can
Hmm.
be connected to without credentials. I connect to this HVAC system and I see that the HVAC system communicates to a computer in your server room that controls the HVAC in the environment
Yeah.
without security checks. This
Hmm.
person pivots, what we call lateral movement, pivots from your HVAC system now and pivots to your IT network. From your IT
Yeah.
network, let's say the person has managed to compromise from the HVAC system, get into a proper computer in your network. This computer in your network is domain joined to your central domain controller,
Yeah.
your main network. You move from that to the domain controller. That this machine now is a member of a particular group that has certain privileges. You keep climbing the ladder of
Hmm.
exploitation, lateral movement, privilege escalation. You get what I
Mm-mm.
mean? So
Yeah.
technically, devices expand what we call your attack surface. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a building that has one door, just one metal door. Is a lot more difficult to break in than a building that has several doors and a number
Hmm.
of windows. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
again, yeah, so that's exactly how it happens. The more attack surface people can connect to from external platforms, the more
Yeah.
exposed you are. And then because most times these devices in your network are not secured enough on how they communicate
Hmm.
with other devices within your network.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's a big
Wow.
deal. There has been
Yeah.
a number of that in the US. Let me give you an instance.
Okay.
You've heard of things like I don't want to mention the name of the organization now. You've heard of shutting down water purification system in a state in US by attackers. You know what that means? They can corrupt the water you drink in your home that is coming from a central
Wow.
processing plant. can be corrupted, and the configuration of how the water purifies can be reset by attackers to poison the water. You know
Wow.
how mind-blowing that is. Imagine a whole
Yeah.
city of 10 million people, drinking poisoned water
Yeah. And
because
I
of
heard
a
that they
small
can even be
compromise.
there for months and doing it bits by
Yes.
bits by bits. It's crazy.
Now you
Wow.
come to your first question again about it being a psychological thriller. It's not an action movie.
It's not
Now,
action
hackers
at
are able to
all.
sit in your network. They're able
I'm
to sit in
telling
your
you.
network for
Yeah.
6 months, 12 months, years.
Yes.
I can tell you one incident. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention the two names, though it's public, so I can mention it.
Okay.
Notepad
Please
plus
do.
plus. You know about Notepad plus plus is one of the
Yes.
tools people
Yes.
use for developing. Their main server where this application is hosted was compromised. They only
Wow.
got to know over 6 months after. And you know what? Everybody around the world who used that tool could have been compromised already without knowing it.
Ah,
So
serious.
this is just an example of how things happen. You get my point? So it's
Mm.
a scary thing.
It is
It's a scary
psychological
environment to
thriller
be.
indeed.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you so much. So now, Henry, I want you to level with me. After talking about the AC issue, all the things we've talked about and all, do
Mhm.
you have any smart device in your home? Or are you living like it's 1995 to stay safe?
I have, to be honest with you, I have smart devices in my home, right? I
Okay.
have a smart printer. I
Okay.
have an audio assistant, switches off
Okay.
TV, plays music and all that. They are
Okay.
interconnected. They are
Okay.
interconnected. However, in as much as I have these things, I'm a low risk target. Personal
Okay.
devices is different from my work tool. They are not connected to my work
Okay.
tool,
Yeah.
but they are still targets that. So, in categories of hackers, we have what we call script kiddies. We have
Okay.
different levels. So the script kiddies are people
Yeah.
who hack and play around for fun. So your home can
Okay.
easily get hacked by someone who is just
Wow.
trying to just, play around on the internet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do
I
you
thought you were
know
going.
there are
Okay.
platforms? Yeah, sorry. Do you know there are platforms on the internet that shows you different cameras, CCTV cameras that are connected to the internet that you can hack into anywhere in the world? As we're talking, you could
Yes.
hack in somebody's CCTV in a different continent and look around their house, look around what they have in their home because it's internet connected and they don't know how to secure it.
Secure it. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
So it's scary.
crazy. Very scary and psychological thriller indeed. Wow, thank you so much. Anyway, Henry, for
Mhm,
the business owners listening, what's one
mhm.
thing they need to understand about the war room? We've been talking about the war room. So what's one thing
Yeah.
they need to understand about it?
Okay. I think I will look at it top down. First of all, they need to
Okay.
have capable people on the team.
Okay.
So a business owner looks at the business from the point of view of profit, getting running and all
Okay.
that. However, it's a critic person looks at actual risk that can cripple a business that, you know, might be difficult to quantify in a dollar and pounds. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a business owner, the first point of call is to hire capable people, and compensate them well,
Okay.
enable them to train. You get what I mean? And
Yeah.
because it's difficult for business owners to take cybersecurity seriously until it happens to them.
True.
Nobody is too small to be targeted. Now, let me tell you the reason. One of the reasons is this. As a business owner, you're most likely in the supply chain of a bigger organization. Now, if you're just a small company doing small stuff. However, there's a big
Mm.
company you provide service to or you sell products to.
Hmm.
You getting compromised might be the staircase to hackers getting into that bigger organization. You get what I mean? So, as a business owner, the risk is real. That's my advice.
Very
The
real.
risk is real.
Wow.
Hire capable people, take
Hmm.
it seriously, take risk management seriously, and encourage your security team to do their thing.
Wow.
That's just how to put it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. So I'm going to say culture over tools.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking us into the trenches and for being such a good sport with the icebreakers. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate
It's been a
you.
pleasure to be with you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Did you get that? Said
Yeah, yeah.
thank
So,
you.
thank you very much. I missed a bit part of it, but thank you very much.
Yeah,
Pleasure to speak with you
thank
on
you.
this, and
Thank you so
I
much.
hope
Now, the war
it's
room is
inspired
not just
someone. I
about
hope it's educated
software, it's
someone. Thank you
about
very
the
much.
human will to stay one step ahead. Building that level of resilience is exactly what we focus on CyberGuard Lounge,
Yeah.
whether it's through high level advisory to build your response playbooks, specialized training to sharpen your team's detective skill, or the rigorous audits needed to find your AC vents before.
Thank you.